Crude Oil Grade, and that's a new grade into the international market. So our own very own Nembe oil is now an international deal, standing on its own. And what does that do for the OPEC quota? That's what we're looking at today. At a time that petrol cost and availability is one of the biggest concerns of business owners, we do not understand what's going on. We know that a lot of filling stations are closed. We also know that those open are selling at up to 670 naira per liter. And there's no end in sight to all of this. And we also know that it has persisted because of one thing and one thing only: forex scarcity specifically, and then oil prices. And how can we increase, how can we have forex available again? How can we, stop all of the issues that we're having when it comes to, when you think of that, of course, you start thinking of how we should start selling more of our crude. Okay, so what's up with our crude at the moment? Well, before I answer that, let me tell you about this Daily Trust report that said that Nigeria lost over 8.7 trillion naira, and that is when it was even 758 naira to a dollar between January and August, because of our inability to meet this quota allocated by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. And we couldn't meet up that quota, and we lost up to 8.7 trillion naira. So it's a big deal. It's something to really look at. And that means the implications of actually meeting that quota is far-reaching for us. Now, don't forget that last December, when Temipire Silva was still Minister of State for Petroleum, he had actually said at the time that we'll be able to meet our quota by May this year. I mean November, and we're still talking about meeting quota. So what happened? What really happened? Well, according to this day newspaper, Nigeria raised its OPEC oil production quota by 1.47 million barrels in the whole of October, but still, it wasn't able to meet the expectations and meet this quota. I mean, we still had a whooping 12.1 million barrels. We're still falling short, 25% short. How can we meet this OPEC quota? Since it's a lot hinges on us meeting it. If you are able to meet it, could it help fix the forex scarcity issues and availability of the product for us inadvertently? What should it mean for us? I have joining me in the studio. When you talk about analyzing business stories, the big voice in this side of the Niger is in the studio with me. He just walked in, and I am excited because I also would like to understand where we stand when it comes to meeting our OPEC quota. But first, let's look at Market Watch, and when we return, we'll delve deep into this conversation, especially because we have Nembe oil. Nembe Crude Oil is now at the international scene, standing on its own. It used to be part of the Bonny oil, but now it's standing on its own as has its own international grade, so to speak. What does that do for our efforts to meet the OPEC quota? What changes, especially for you as a business owner? We'll be back with Market Watch. Yes, of course, don't forget we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and you know that you can actually drop your comments there, whether it's for the coming conversation we're about to have or for the stories I'm about to share with you and its implications. Yes, you can drop your comments on YouTube and also on Facebook. We're live there. And also you can share your thoughts on X. Of course, X is former Twitter. You can share your comments there as at Nigeria Info PH. And of course, on WhatsApp, just whip out your phone and drop your messages and drop your comments on WhatsApp. 0809-030-6416 is the number to call, or rather, the WhatsApp number. Do not call that number, please. That was an error. Do not call that number. Just drop your comments, drop your messages, and when it's time, we'll read out your comments live. But first, let's dive into Market Watch. Joining me in the studio is the BusinessDay Southside Regional Editor, our very own business analyst and everything business. Just call him and he will be there. Our very own Mr. Ignatius Chukwu is joining me in the studio right now. Thank you for making time to be here, Mr. Ignatius.
Oh, thank you, Lady Choma is wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, listeners.
Yes, and just to briefly sympathize with you over the loss, I am so sorry. I was very touched. Just a few hours after we spoke on Saturday, that story broke. I was shocked. And please accept our sympathy and condolence, okay?
Thank you very much. My wife has a priority, and her priority is news. Me and news. So nothing should stop it. And therefore, she will be disappointed if I fail to honor this appointment. So I had to honor it because it was fixed before her death.
Yes. Yes, it was. And thank you for making time to be here.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, let's start with the first story here. We hear the inflation. You know, I've been calling the inflation the rising inflation because I know that by the next time my show comes on, it will not be the same thing. And lo and behold, it has happened, people. Our inflation rate, as of the one you know, it has increased. There's a new rate, and that is 27.33%. That is Nigeria's new inflation rate. The one in September was 26.72, and now it's 27.33. What does this mean for you as a business owner? I'm going to ask Mr. Ignatius Chukwu. He's here with me. I'm not going to be analyzing anything today. I have removed my analysis cap, and I'm giving it to the Odogus in the business. And I'm asking, what does this mean for business owners at this time?
They can't plan. That's the number one implication. You can't plan. I was telling my driver home we are passing. I saw electronics, generators. I said, the person selling these things will have a full shop and he think he's in business. He's not. That if you bought one at 9,000 and you are selling it to 100,000. Now, if you sell it to 100,000 now and you go back to buy another unit to replace the one you bought,
who have enough money?
You will get there, they say the one you want to buy is 120,000. So now you have 100,000. Remember that inside this 100,000, 10,000 is your profit. And it is the profit you use to service the shop, pay electricity, do all the things. So that 10,000 has disappeared. So you have profit on paper, but there's no profit in reality. Because you now have to go and raise 20,000 to add to the 100,000 to buy a replacement. So have you seen it? And you don't know what will happen next. So this is where business people have problem. When inflation is not
stable,
bottoming out, it's not stable. You keep rising, keep rising. So if your shop is worth 2 million, it means that for you to replace that shop, you need 2.5 million. For you to replace the 2.5 million, you need 3 million.
Where would the money come from?
So anytime you get profit, the profit is swallowed by inflation. Then you're not in business. So if you go and buy, if you take your wife to hospital and pay 100,000 naira, you take from your money, thinking that your profit has covered it. The meaning is that when next you are going to market, you will not buy the quantity you used to buy. You now keep reducing quantity. So the value of your stock is increasing, but the economic value is decreasing. That's what all these businesses you see. When you see them from far, you think they're sweet. When you go in, so it will now force them to begin to cut corners, to begin to do ugly and evil things. So the hour we are in is bad for both the buyer and the seller until it bottoms out and stabilizes at a point. It may be high. If it is high and stable, it is good for the business people. But if it keeps rising, as you say, you call it rising, it's still rising. So the business person cannot make decision yet. It's terrible.
Even when the festive season is almost here. I mean, this is exactly November 15. This is not just midweek, it is mid-month. And so if you were going to be a big player in the festive season, you should have already sorted yourself out.
Yes,
but it's not advisable.
The inflation that December will bring is consumption-driven inflation. This one now is not pushed by consumption.
What is pushing this particular?
This one, what is pushing those are external factors, not demand. It's not demand-driven. That more people want this. It is rising because factors of production. If you're a seller, factors that give the cost price and selling price, those are the additional costs put together. Even when you buy it in an expensive price, the cost of lifting the goods from somewhere to your shop, by the time you put all these factors together, the factors of production have gone haywire. So that's why this particular inflation is driven by that. But when the consumers are many, maybe at Christmas, and many people want to buy the same item, the trader will now be increasing price. That's not one, and we're still going to enter that one.
Now, I'm forced to stay on this topic and ask you more questions.
Okay.
But we'll have to move on. But before we move on, let me just quickly ask you.
Okay.
The actions that the government is taking at this moment to deal with inflation, what do you think? Is it going to have any immediate impact this year, or we're going to expect the impact next year? Take, for instance, the issue of, I've seen the one of federal government bond, where they increase what you get from that bond. And I've also seen the one of the Naira, which is the next story actually, the Naira, and then pumping money into the Forex and making more this available. How are these things? Do we have any of these things that are immediate enough?
Remember the last time we spoke here, we said, when the fundamentals are wrong, you will now be using intervention. I hope you are aware that intervention is like palliative. You know, palliative has never cured hunger. So, if interventions are made to arrest the situation temporarily, to allow fundamentals to germinate and grow and bear fruit. So, those fundamentals are that when import and the value of import, the totality of the value of import is far higher than the totality of the value of export, you simply have foreign exchange crisis. Balance of payment, you can't balance your books. And when you can't balance your books, you begin to harm your economy in one way or the other. So what all these other palliatives and all these other interventions, they are okay. But you see, when the volume of foreign exchange in the central bank is not enough to go around, and when your people have two dangerous appetites: one, importation, consumption of foreign goods; one, two, you have lost confidence in your currency. So more than 50% of those buying dollars are now buying it to put into import or to put into production. They buy to store their wealth in a new currency.
Exactly.
When you have driven your economy to the point where they no longer have confidence, nobody wants to hide 10 billion naira under the bunker. You want to hide, even if it's 2 million. You want to hide 2 million, but you are not ready to hide naira. So when people begin to transfer their value, their wealth from one currency to the other, that other currency will suffer intrinsic anemia. It will be bleeding. So you say, so when the government said we are floating it, let everybody buy, think that when you have everybody buy, buying to do what? So when you do under heavy regulation, you want to control what people do when they buy the dollar. But when it's okay, it is good to do freedom. But you have to find the kind of people. Now, if your cousin's children are in your house, there are boys and girls in your house. You know the type of boys in your house you can leave the girls with. You know the ones you cannot. So it is when you study what Nigerians do. Why do Nigerians $1? To import what? Are they importing? Are they investing it in productive activity? But when we are transferring it to say, I beg, let me transfer it. I know one top politician who had contact in Abuja some years ago. He came and told us as journalists, if you have small money, buy $1, it's going to increase. He said, it's speculation. I didn't have naira, let alone dollar. But let's say, if you have small money, buy $1. So when people whisper it to people who have money, they now begin to move naira into dollar. Why? For storage of value. And when that is what you are doing, no amount of dollar that government will pump in to solve the problem, they will buy up and keep.
Anyways, the next story makes it very interesting what you just shared with us. The central bank extending the validity of 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira old notes indefinitely. Of course, it became clearer to me when I saw that statement, because there was this kind of, should I call it artificial banknote scarcity that happened yesterday. We just had our correspondent come in and I was asking her. She said that actually banks were hoarding naira yesterday. They were not willing to give people, they were restricting people to just 50,000 naira at some point. And so it was like CBN did a very quick intervention there, especially for business owners.
Yeah, very simple. The CBN, when there was war over new naira, the CBN, the court, some people went to court, the Supreme Court approved extension to December. So people are saying by law that extension will expire in December, except another proclamation is made to extend it is extended. So that the speculation dies. But I am surprised. People who are wise will know that there's no way this the old Naira note would have died in December. Because some people went to court. Those who went to court belong to a particular political camp. And they won. In the CBN, they won in court, and they also captured the CBN. So how do you think there will be quarrel?
Interesting. Okay. Now, before we go on a break, let's do the last story on this segment, which is the fact that a celebrity fashion designer, Vicky James is her name. She came under criticism recently because she talked about the fact, she went on a podcast and she said that she charges her clients in dollars, and she was justifying it. And we're like, really? In Nigerian business, charging in dollars? In fact, people came for her. And I'm going to ask you what you think about that. After this break, I would like you to tell us what you think about that, Mr. Ignatius. The criticism stems from the belief that such practices are not only exclusionary, but also contribute to undermining the Nigerian Naira. Is this true? Does it affect, when you say you're selling in dollar? In fact, people use it to pump up the classiness of their business. Ego. My business is for elites. Oh, I charge in dollars. We've seen a lot of people do that, especially online. Nigerians that are online would rather charge you in dollars. I don't know if I've fallen short, though. I don't know. But we just prefer to charge in dollars somehow, especially because of what you talked about earlier. So we're going to ask you now, as we get close, do you think that is a good move? Because business coaches are advising businesses to do that. That's why more of them are doing it. Is this a good move or not? We're going to talk about that after the break, and then we move into the OPEC Quota conversation. And so stay tuned. Talking Figures will be back in a bit after this break. Stay tuned. In Figures here, we've talked about a lot of things. We started with Market Watch, where we looked at the big stories in the world of business and what it means for you as a business owner. And we talked about the inflation, the rising inflation rate in Nigeria. In case you're not aware, it just dropped today. The Consumer Index report, MBS, Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics. They are saying that we have a new rate. Inflation has gone up, and we've talked about the implications. I have in the studio with me the zonal editor of BusinessDay, Mr. Ignatius Chukwu. He's in the studio with me, and he's talked a lot about the implication of that. And believe me, I was tempted to stay on it very longer for you to understand what it is you should be doing if this continues to happen. And he said a little bit of that. In case you missed that part, we are live on Facebook, and you can also go watch it there. We are also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. We're live on both platforms, and you can go watch it there maybe after the show has ended. And so now, whether or not it's okay for businesses to sell in dollars, while you're choosing to sell in dollars. Because a fashion guru talked about how she continues to charge in dollars recently. She's a celebrity fashion designer, and she said she charges in dollars, and they came for her. A lot of people criticized her. Now I have a business analyst in the studio, and I'm asking, is that a good move? Because lots of business coaches always advise this. Is this good for economy or even for a business to do that?
In 2 words, I would say it's not good. It's not good at all. But let me now say,
does it make business sense? Okay, let's leave morality. Does it make business sense?
Business must obey the law.
Oh, good.
And the ethics. Man, let's go to a bitter remark as a foundation. There are 2 legacies, 2 demonic legacies politicians have given us since 1999. One is increasing cost of governance. Total package used to govern us has gone so high that if governance were to be a product, 1 bottle of governance that should have sold for 200 naira will be selling for 1,200 naira because of the high cost of governance. What did that do to us? It makes the civil service to demand for wage increase all the time. They say, don't you see how much lawmakers are taking? Don't you see how much governors are taking? If you're a governor, you take pension, you take salary as minister, you take salary as governor, former governor, you take salary as a former something. So by the time you gather all of them, one man, and your neighbor who did not work in government is seeing it. So it has created an injury in the psyche of Nigerians that immediately you enter government, you drive higher and higher and higher the cost of governance, and it's killing us. Second thing we have done as injury to our psyche is that gradually the politicians began to, I will relate it to what the fashion person did. The political class gradually legitimized spending in foreign currency. So it now began to look like if you are spraying naira, I come and overtake you by spraying dollar or whatever.
Yeah.
So, now gradually, it has created parallel currencies, the naira and the dollar.
Yeah.
So when you put your hand in the wallet and bring out naira money, you separate them, your naira and your dollar. and it is now appearing normal. So when the political class began to spray dollar, began to give dollar to their boys and their
on election day, they don't spend naira.
So when a free spending of dollar has taken place in our, what right do you have to attack a fashion designer? The evil has been introduced gradually. They were doing it discreetly. From there, they are now doing it openly. From now, they are now doing it frankly. To condemn that lady, what she has done is like what is the difference between runs girl and prostitute. So when a prostitute is a runs girl who is no longer hiding it, you now come out in the open. So by advertising that she sells only in dollars, she has simply bastardized what everybody is doing. So if anybody wants to condemn it, we first of all begin to condemn our leaders that do not have any problem spending in dollar. When you do that, you have created 2 currencies in one market, and the stronger currency will surely destroy the weaker currency. Surely.
Okay, so before we criticize her, we should go for the politicians.
Those who introduce it, she's only follow people in a bag. She's a bad follower.
All right, that ends Market Watch for today. Time for Insider Tips. And on Insider Tips, I told you we're looking at the OPEC quota. A lot has been said in the past, in the past week. A lot has happened, and even starting from last year, conversations about when we are going to be able to meet our quota when it comes to as an oil-producing nation. I mean, there's so much that's been expected of us as a country, and we are not there yet. But something happened. The Nembe Crude Oil Grade happened, and it looked like it was going to shake things up. But did it? That's the question I'm asking, and I still have Ms. Ignatius Chukwu in the studio with me to help us understand exactly where we stand. Because I believe that if we know where we stand and how soon we can meet our quota, I think it also translates to having more forex. And if we can have more forex, we can buy more. I don't know, but I have to talk about petrol importation as the immediate solving of the problem when it comes to availability. I told you when I started the show that there isn't really any. I have this NMP filling station close to me. I've been monitoring, and for weeks they've not had products. And it's not the only one, some others as well. And those who do are selling it. It's not cheap. Let me put it that way. It's not cheap at all. And it's affected every other thing. Cost of transportation keeps going up. So everything is tied to us being able to meet the OPEC quota, actually. And so I'm starting with this question now. Ms. Ignatius, help us understand what happened when the Nembe Crude Oil Grade was announced last week.
Thank you very much, Choma. I wish more Nigerians, especially more girls, well, I say they like to be called women, but when they begin to pay attention to information, news concerning economy, business, facts, figures, I feel thrilled, because all the opposition we carry out in politics is zero, because no opposition party is tackling any government on budget. Do you know how we do opposition on budget? When they announce an amount, the opposition party will announce, this is nonsense budget, and they walk away. They never do budget analysis to show where it is nonsense. They condemn it. And how dare you condemn an entire budget? Are you saying that all the figures from the beginning to end, none is right? So, which means you didn't study it. You are not actually offering your own people. In better countries, you offer alternative budget. Yes, because they have shadow governments. Every political party that is what is sought will have a shadow cabinet. And they have a person in charge of every ministry. So for every minister that exists, there is a counter minister in the opposition. And when the other one talks, if you bring your own, the masses will not choose between the two ideas. But what we do is blanket condemnation. So that does not help the people in the middle, the populace. So what I'm saying, therefore, is that those who follow the figures, those who follow these things, they'll be in a better position to agree or disagree. Okay, now we have been suffering without caring to know. We started suffering only when oil refused to clean our mess. Before, no matter how faulty our policies were, too much foreign exchange and from too much oil, we wipe it off. So a bad administration will not look good, because they were able to fulfill their promises based on money they did not work for, rent seeker. But when oil refused to pay, at the time, about 2 years ago, the total amount earned from oil was the same total amount was only able to pay our debt. So total oil revenue, use it to pay debt. Or if you want to pay salary, total income from oil versus total expenditure on salary. So every single naira now spent on project was borrowed.
Yeah.
And the same populace that did not know that the entire oil revenue has gone to salary will still be saying, give us federal road, give us federal house, give us federal electricity. All those federal from where? From borrowed money. And when somebody is borrowing money to give you project, he's sentencing you to slavery. You are cutting your flesh, convert it to akara, fry and eat. The day you look for your flesh, you know that you ate it.
There's a fairy tale like that, actually.
Now, so now, oil began to refuse to pay. Now, what is our oil projection that will make us healthy? 3 million barrels per day. But immediate demand, 2.4 million. Now, instead of us to now hit 2.4 million, which was our target, we started slumping to 2.2, 2 million, 1.8, 1.2. Until one day in my lifetime, I saw 900 million. And she not allow me to talk. Not 900,000 barrels. Not even up to 1 million.
Yes.
So our problems continue to increase, our expenditure needs continue to increase to 1.4, continue to now hover at 1.4, 1. Now, what is OPEC quota? OPEC is just an association. It's not by law. It's just a group of exporters who say, let us. OPEC plus means those who did not agree to join OPEC can say, look, the thing OPEC is saying is good, let us support them, but we will not go join. So if they support the group that agreed to support OPEC decision, Russia and co, became OPEC plus. While those who are signed and registered members are OPEC. So now what is that? They say at every point in time they agree to say, let us increase total oil we are pumping into the market or reduce. Either we increase or we reduce, because that decision used to affect the price of oil. Therefore, when the Russia and Ukraine war came up, the OPEC plus went and said, okay, let us increase the quota every country was supposed to produce, so that they will make up the shortfall, so that if scarcity of oil and the high price will not be too much. Remember, oil was going to 130, but when they now increase the quota, oil began to be 94, 97, began to hover. It has not reached 100 again. It is intervention that caused it. So what I'm trying to say is that now, whenever they say decrease, reduce your oil, the crude oil you're pumping, you will take a loss. But it is called sacrifice. The sacrifice you make to stabilize international oil pricing mechanism. But when they say, okay, there is scarcity or price is going too high, you increase. Let me ask you, my dear little sister Choma, is it not the time you have to make up that for that other shortfall you suffered last time? Nigeria is the only country that takes negative but does not take positive. So when they now say increase, they gave Nigeria 1.7, we were hovering at 1.4. So we are losing an average of 1.3. We are losing an average of 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day. We are losing by not meeting the OPEC quota. So we are losing. So when OPEC say increase, we can't increase. So who's not? When in future they will say decrease, will they not tell us to decrease? We will decrease. So we are harming ourselves. And that shortfall, 400,000 barrels per day, when by the time you multiply it by whatever oil was, then you now get it in a month, get it in a year. You see that all the money we have been borrowing to support our budget is the money that the 400,000 per day would have given us. So for every barrel that we did not produce, we'll go and borrow at the international market. And we say, why are they borrowing? Why would they not borrow? When all of us join hands to make sure that we don't produce 1.7, and then when there's need to balance the budget, they borrow. So if you gain here, you lose here, because we are not doing it right. So where we are now is that the Nembe Creek, the Nembe OML 29, they were the series of oil wells that were supposed to send a spot through Bonny, but a lot of difficulties, and pipeline, the Nembe Creek,
oil theft, vandalism.
So we did not know that they were secretly looking for an alternative means of exporting this crude oil. So first of all, the project there offered us, in 1 month they were able to export 950,000 barrels times 2. That gave about 1.8 in a month. So when you divide it, you get about 30,000 barrels per day. But they say that the projection, this is a test running, at maturity or maturation, it will be 3.6 million barrels per month. When you divide it per day, I was getting about 120,000 barrels per day. That will now mean that experiment will contribute 120,000 in addition to whatever our normal is. But that's just one good thing from that angle. The second good thing, apart from the fact that they say the grade is rare, the grade is very rare and very important because it is sulfur based. So it's a rare grade which fetches more money. Nigeria's problem has not been about grade. Nigeria's oil used to be one of the best, easier to refine. When you refine at a lower cost, the refiners will be looking for you more. Now, that's what Nigeria offers. But the problem is, where is the crude? The crude is in the oil, is in the ground in Nigeria. The mechanism of bringing it and pumping it abroad is the problem. When you bring it up to the surface, other people will steal it and it will go. So now this Nembe is also solving the problem of the route where they used to steal it. They were secretly working until they said they have found an alternative route. They have now found an alternative way of exporting it, this 120,000 per day if it comes, but for now 30,000 per day, can now, they are test running, exporting it without it facing vandalism. So that the good thing is that it gives us a high international grade that is high. It also gives us uninterrupted exit to the international market.
So we have more products.
We now have more realistic product. We have always had. The problem is that, is it going to hit the international market without being tampered with? No. So we have found a route that can pump that one without it being tampered with.
Now let's pause a bit and look at the Bonny crude and all it's been facing, and how we've not been able to meet our quota. Can we not replicate what's happened for Nembe crude to Bonny crude, so that we create a new route altogether for it, and then we do not have to experience oil theft and vandalism and all the money they are paying the contractors to protect this? I feel like that's a different conversation, but it's all part of what we are losing, right?
Yeah, you can't do it because these ones are traveling from land to shallow waters, now to deep waters. So the journey is far and is exposed to external third party. But if you watch the celebration over the Belema project, the
terminal, the terminal
is trying to harvest from the Chukwu end and various areas, so that they will be beyond Tampa. And they said the route to the ocean will be less than 1/3 of the normal Bonny route. So if Belema terminal kicks in, it will give you the same effect with this the Aitio and NPC Nembe experiment. So what they are doing, Nigeria is now quietly they'll be fighting on the surface, but at the back they are looking for working for alternative routes. And all this thing we are celebrating in Nembe, what I hate in Nigeria and the Nigerian type of supporter base is that we are so myopic, we are so foolish. A president can be doing something quietly, and 2 months or 3 months or 1 year after he left, it will kick in. The result will show. Nigerians were so myopic that we say, since this other man entered, you see how we are doing this, because they don't follow process. Any man they see you with on the 9th month you gave birth to a baby, they say that you don't see the man, say you don't make the woman born pikin. But they don't know that the man that did it was 9 months ago. So it is when you are not wise that you make such short-sighted and myopic conclusions. But that's
and that's why we're having talking figures conversations, so that we can break down these things.
The Aitio experiment didn't start on May 29.
Yeah,
it's not a one-day journey. Yeah. All the oil companies and the federal government have been secretly working on how else. That's why the Belema the Belema jetty or terminal is an experiment to move certain quantity of crude oil straight from that zone, without going to where people can tamper-free zones and tamper-free mechanisms. So Nigeria is moving towards deeper in the offshore. But the danger is that when the big IOCs, when they get comfortable with the offshore to the ocean, when they get comfortable with it, those small the Nigerian companies that are now managing the fields they sold, those ones that are now exposed to danger. So who will they be producing? They will not be producing for bunkers, because you bring them, put it into the pipeline, and it will be stolen. So when these people now discover new route to India, discover new routes out of Nigeria, they will no longer be interested in conveying oil for all the small marginal oils, because they used to help them to deliver. The small marginal oil companies don't have the mechanism to transport it, so they rely on the mega companies to carry it along with their major in their trunk. But if they now have the economic power to migrate to these new experiments coming, how will the marginal oil fields and oil companies move their own products? They are the ones now that will be left with the disruptive TMP and the CRKP, the Nembe Creek pipeline and the transnational pipeline that delivers through border, and the one that delivers through Nembe. So if the two of them are in trouble and people find alternative routes, so those using these ones, when you put 1,000 barrels, you go and check there, you get 250 barrels, and it's not economical. That was why they stopped pumping 2 years ago. That we send and the owner of the pipeline has insurance that compels him to pay the man who gave you delivery, and you did not deliver it at the terminal. So who pays? I gave you a particular quantity and you signed. And when it arrived at the other end, it didn't even get up to 1/3. So who pays? The middleman who stole it is not known by law. The person who carried who signed to deliver is not. They catch him, but they not stop taking. Say, don't give me your crude oil since I have no guarantee that it will arrive, Bonnie. This is a crisis they were suffering.
Interesting. Let's open the phone lines now, shall we? 0817-923-0002. You can also call 0817-923-0003. It is talking figures, and we're looking at the OPEC quota, considering the new Nembe crude oil and what it brings to the mix, of all that we've been trying to do. How does it alter, or how does it contribute or help in the journey to meeting the OPEC quota? That's a conversation we're having, and I have Mr. Ignatius Chukwu in the studio with me, and he's done quite good justice to it. If you've been listening, you have a comment at this time, and the phone lines are open, and I would like to get your thoughts. I have Ida from Onkoro calling now. Hello, good afternoon. Oh, I lost that. Yes, you can call back. 0817-923-0007 is also another number that you can call. And 0817-923-0009. Yes, you can also call those numbers. And of course, the WhatsApp line 0809-030-6416 is the WhatsApp number. You can drop your comments there as well. I'll be reading that in a bit. But first, I have Ezeken joining me from Ubimini. Hello, good afternoon. Yes.
My own is a question.
Go on.
I would like to ask your guests in the studio if they have organization. Do they have any organization? Because why I ask, people like him are the people to be assisting our federal men, these ministers of petroleum, junior minister, young minister, and senior minister. These are the people that need to tell them exactly what is supposed to be done with our crude in this country, for us to make our economy valuable, so that it will affect. It will benefit the less privileged in the street. So that is the only question I have. If they have an organization that will assist the federal government to know the value of our product, because that is the only thing we are proud of outside the country. Thank you very much, madam.
Okay, Ezekiel, thank you for your thoughts there. I also have Braid calling from Transamadi. Hello, Braid.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, to our resource person, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Yes, my take on this issue is that the government should be able to sell our crude with Nigerian currency, so that Nigerian currency will also have value. This crude is coming from Nigeria, but they are selling it with dollars. And also, they should be able to make it as such that the host community, the environment, should also feel the impact that all these panels will not also come in. And also, they should be able to repair our refineries and also bring out the kerosene, PMS, and also diesel at affordable rates within Nigeria. I think that will quell a lot of issues. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you. I have Ida from Okoro. Thank you for calling back. Good afternoon.
Yes, I want to greet your guests in the studio. I'm going to prayer now for that man to become Minister of Petroleum next. And after this, I believe by the grace of God, at the end of this year, they will sack that man and bring this man in. I know if this man come in, we will buy petrol for 10 naira per liter. God will spoke. And I know the God I serve brought this man to this studio today. I want to thank him. I want to plead with him. All these are fire boys. They should bring them out to be refining for us. Please, not to carry our product abroad, exchange with dollar, come here to sell us high price. And this way that we are buying, Before I tell it off, I can't go to guide and protect. Give more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I don't know that from the ground.
Okay. All right, I have Zion calling from GRA. Hello, good afternoon.
I think that should also be my thoughts. Because when a wine is fine, we buy it more no matter how expensive it is. Thank you very much, the resource person in the studio. But I have a concern on this sector. The removal of the subsidy, or before then, we were told about the modular refinery. Even though I never subscribed to it. It was so ampered and hyped that everybody forgot that there's what we call the real refinery. They talk about the modular. Now there are standing modular refineries already on ground. Resource person, why is it difficult for these people to access crude to refine and give Nigerians this product? Mr. Zion.
Okay. Questions begging answers. Let's start with the first caller now before we go on WhatsApp. We don't even have time. We're going to go on a short break. And when we come back from that break, we will wrap up. But I'll read messages. I promise. I'm going to read your messages. So drop them. After this break, we'll read them.
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
Really fast now, just to wrap up. Really, I was going to allow you answer the first question about whether there's an organization that helps to kind of like an advisory council from what he asked. I think that's what he
invariably what the Nigerians are saying, that is there a mechanism where the opinions of citizens like us we get to those in authority? That's the simple question. So whether from association or not, I continue to say that we don't have an ideation center. We've been calling for an ideation center where people can put in their suggestions and government will have a team that will go through them. Anyone that makes sense, they take. But what we see are those in authority are scared of those that are ruling. And those of us that are ruling, if they ask you not to go and see minister, you go and tell that your wife is sick, your school fees and those are not the reasons. So we pressing so that we get something.
Okay, so because of time, Mr. Ignatius, I want us to read the messages because I promised I was going to read them just before we go. We leave the studio. The first one here is from Francis. Francis sent this message from Oyibo, and he condoled with you, Mr. Ignatius Chukwu. He says, my deep condolences on the loss of your wife. I said, I followed his economic analysis seriously and can attest he's economically sound. Of course he is. Mr. Chukwu should work towards lecturing in economics in the university to transfer his knowledge to the younger generation. He's too much. Yes, he's my mentor. And yes, he is already transferring knowledge and mentoring there. Okay, I have another one here. Hi, presenter, Mr. Chukwu. This CBN, whether under Emefiele or whoever, has been very inconsistent with their policies and statements. probating and reprobating. They have gotten a legal battle from the Supreme Court over this assurance. The masses cannot continue to sacrifice and suffer for ineptitude. Enough of this. The dollarization trend was caused by the political class. You already said that. That message is from Awa. I have another message here. Please, how do we get the number aired on the... Okay, I think I am reading the wrong one. All right, that's actually the wrap here on Talking Figures. Thank you so much. Can you, in 30 seconds, give us your final thoughts on all of this?
No, let us join hands to not only to meet OPEC quota, to surpass it.
Surpassing, yeah. Let's stay with surpassing. When they say the sky shouldn't be your limit, you should aim for, so that when you drop in the sky, it's okay, right? That's a good ending note there. Thank you so much for being a part of Talking Figures today, and thank you, Mr. Ignatius, for coming in. It's always great when you come in. You shift the horizon and the conversation even higher. Thank you. All right, that's a wrap for today on Talking Figures. My name is Choma Izinwafo, and of course, you know, I am on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and on LinkedIn at Choma Izinwafo. Find me there. I have conversations like this and even many more. Let's continue to keep hope alive. Our economy is going to get better. Conversations like this can help engineer it, okay? If you missed any part of this show, it's live on Facebook. It ends now, and then you can watch it again and share your thoughts there as well. Thank you, and have a lovely day. I think Rivers Today is up next. That's the news. Rivers Today is up next, and afterwards Kalada will be here to take you on hard facts. So stay tuned and do have a lovely one.
Real stories, real